Welcome back to the Sage Skills Lab, where we exist for one reason, to help you turn insight into action. Every single video here gives you one science-backed skill, one practice you can start today, and a key takeaway that will make you a sharper, stronger leader. And today we're discussing a 60-second habit. Yes, that's right, a 60-second habit that separates great teammates from the kind of average ones, and it costs you almost nothing to start today. So, imagine this. You've just been added to a brand new, fast-moving project team. You're excited, you're ready to dive in, and you've got time right now to get going. So you need to get up to speed fast, and you ask for the project brief. And what do? Well, they send you a link to a file that has about 40 different files in it, some dead links, and a note from Slack that says that you need to just ask Sarah if you have any questions, but oh, by the way, Sarah's not in until next Tuesday. Instantly, your project momentum is dead. And today, the reality is that we work in highly dynamic teams. People roll on and off projects constantly. Cross-functional squads form for 6 weeks and then they dissolve. But the problem is that when teams are this dynamic and permeable, changing this fast, we usually rely on tribal knowledge, information that's actually kept inside our heads and buried in chaotic DM threads. If you want to stand out as an incredible teammate in a modern workplace, the ultimate superpower isn't how fast you type or how loud you speak in meetings. It's actually how easy you make it for the next person to pick up where you left off. Today we're talking about the core pillar of great teamship, asynchronous clarity. What is asynchronous clarity? Well, simply speaking, it's the habit of documenting your decisions, your processes, and your status updates under one big assumption, that the reader has absolutely zero context. They weren't in the room, they didn't hear the conversation, and they're starting from zero. Most teams suffer from accidental communication. They talk out loud in a Zoom meeting, make a massive strategic pivot, throw a random update into a chaotic Slack thread, and assume everyone knows what's going on. I mean, come on. How many times have you had to filter, scroll back and see what's actually there? Well, we can do better. In a dynamic team, that's a complete recipe for disaster. If a teammate has to wait for a synchronous meeting just to figure out what they're supposed to do next, the entire team slows down to the speed of everyone's calendars. This is a cause for bottleneck for the entire team. It's not easy. Trust me, we suffer from that a lot. We've had to learn how to fix it. Now, when you practice asynchronous clarity, you move toward intentional communication. You create artifacts that allow your teammates to self-serve answers. Isn't that what we all want? If a developer or a designer or a stakeholder can log in at 11 p.m. because that's what works for them, read your project notes, and completely understand the current state of play without having to ping anyone, well, you've just given your team a massive competitive advantage. Not a soft skill, a structural one. Look, I know you're thinking, I don't have time to write a 10-page manifesto for every time I actually assign a task to do or for everything that I take on board. And you shouldn't. True teamship isn't about creating bureaucracy. It's about building micro habits that actually work and anticipate what the next person needs to get going and keep everyone moving at pace. And I'm not talking about massive documentation. Who actually likes that? No one does. But here's one concrete action that you can take into your next team meeting to build this skill instantly. It takes exactly 2 minutes at the end of a call, and it's called decisions and nexts. Before anyone clicks end meeting on Zoom or leaves the conference room, assign one person or even volunteer yourself to drop a brutal 3-bullet point summary into your shared project channel or Notion page. And it's really, really simple. You can use this basic template. First, decision made. Write out what the core conclusion is. For example, we're delaying the launch date to October 12th due to API integration delays. Simple, right? Number 2, next steps. Who's doing what? John is updating the master timeline. Sarah is drafting the client notification email. Again, really simple, very short and pithy. Third, context link. Drop the exact link to the working document or project board into this part. It means you've got the decision, the next steps, and the context to go get more information if you need it, all in one place, all in the same context. It's actually pretty simple, but it is brutally helpful. See, I told you, no essays, just this is what we've decided, this is who's going to do what next, and here's where the actual work lives. And by taking 60 seconds to post this, you instantly create a searchable paper trail. Anyone who was absent on that day, anyone who just got rolled onto the project, or honestly, anyone who didn't hear or who forgot what happened by Friday afternoon can actually find the answer instantly without wasting anyone else's time. If there's one thing I want you to remember from this video, it's this. In a dynamic team, documentation isn't bureaucracy. It's respect. Let's be honest. When you take the time to leave a clear breadcrumb trail, you're actively reducing your teammates' anxiety and wasted time. You're respecting their time so they don't have to chase you down for answers, and they don't have to wait until your calendar frees up to be available for them to be able to get moving. It helps everyone, and true teamship means ensuring the project succeeds regardless of who happens to be sitting in the room on any given day. That's what we need to practice and get better at together. It's worth noting that practicing this kind of asynchronous clarity might feel incredibly natural for some of you, but that's probably if you're a naturally organized, process-driven, or kind of introverted thinker leaving a clean paper trail, and it might actually feel like it's your default mode. I mean, who wouldn't do that? Well, that's not how all of us actually function or are hardwired. Some of us have actually built in different skill sets, and some of us need to learn how to do these. But that's the great part. We can all learn this skill together. So for others, maybe you thrive on spontaneity, high energy, verbal transforming. Stopping to write things down might actually feel like a bit rigid or counterintuitive at first. But it's actually, as I said before, a form of respect. And it's how you make the handoff, a clean, clear handoff, work for you and your team. Now, these differences are completely okay, but because we all have different personalities and natural tendencies, when it comes to collaboration, we have to actually learn how to work together in a way that creates a much tighter, closer handoff. So here's the secret to great teamship. We're never trapped by our natural defaults. As I said, we can learn how to grow new skills, how to become even better and more effective together. Being a great teammate is a muscle that we all can build regardless of where we've started. We can consciously learn how to show up better for our teams regardless of our personality. And one way to do this is simply by practicing habits like the decisions and next roll call. Another way to actually understand our baseline is to see how we naturally show up in a team, looking at our strengths and our blind spots. And if you want to see how you naturally show up in teams, you can look at your strengths and your blind spots in our TalentSage tipping point profile. It's a personality profile designed specifically to show you how you naturally like to show up in teams so you can lean into your strengths and consciously smooth out your blind spots or those natural tendencies that aren't necessarily conducive to making it more effective when we work together. And I've left a link in it in the description below. So here's my challenge for you this week. Open up your last sent email, your last Slack message, or your last project update. Look at it objectively. And if you can't, or you don't see it, ask AI to help. Ask it to summarize. And look at whether or not a complete stranger, if they read it, would know exactly what to do next. How do they know the context? How do they know what to get started on? And how do they know where it was left off? Try the decisions and next format in your meeting today. Let me know how your team responds in the comments below. And if you want to know your teamship personality profile, check out our tipping point profile. The link is right there below, and it takes a few minutes to give you a real picture of how you naturally show up and plug into a team. Now, if you found this helpful, hit that button, subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Thanks again. Thanks for joining us at the Sage Skills Lab.